Jonathan, and today we'll be discussing about creating charts with JavaScript libraries. So the first thing that we will be looking at today is Angular, which is one of the hottest technologies in JavaScript for quite some time. I know a lot of you probably are thinking about Vue, React, but Angular is one of those technologies which has been going on consistently for a very long time and is still sailing steadily. So today we'll be discussing about how we can create charts in Angular, but more importantly, how we do it better and faster is what we'll be actually discussing today. And for that, we'll be using a shortcut. So generally, if you want to create a chart using Angular, you could like very well do it in the plain old traditional style, wherein you go and type out lines of codes and pull in the data, and you will eventually have a chart. But how about if you could reduce the number of code lines and have your chart running in a few minutes? Doesn't that sound exciting? Well, we have this JavaScript library called FusionCharts, which helps you do this. And today we'll be actually seeing how we can create amazing, beautiful charts using FusionCharts and AngularJS. So before we get started, let's see what are we going to visualize today. So I have an interesting data set here, which talks about the number of apps available in the leading app stores in 2018. And this data is provided by Statista and is validated for up to the first quarter of 2018. And it talks about major data app stores like Google Play, Apple App Store, your Windows Store, Amazon App Store, and even the BlackBerry world. I don't know how many people still use it, but hey, they seem to have the apps. So if you had to visualize this data using, and I'm currently using numbers from Apple, and this is the kind of chart that you would see, and it pretty much solves the purpose, but I can't do anything with this. All I can see is like some columns there, and there is nothing more I can see about in terms of insights. There is nothing that this chart is helping me with. But suppose if we want to create this chart for the web, let's see how we can do this better. So let's head over to CodePen, wherein we'll be creating the chart. But before that, let's get started with downloading FusionCharts. So they have a download button right on the home page. They have kept the website really simple and easy to use so that you can just go ahead and get started with your project. So FusionCharts is available for all major frameworks. In fact, they have created custom packages for your frameworks depending on the tech stack that you're using. So if you're using JavaScript, you can directly go ahead and download for JavaScript. Same for AngularJS. There is even for Vue.js, React, and all other major frameworks. So today we'll be using for AngularJS. So if you notice, there are two ways you can install FusionCharts. One is using the direct JavaScript download, or they even have an option for NPM download. So today, obviously, we are going to use direct JavaScript, and we'll be moving directly to CodePen, wherein we'll be installing all the files. So in JavaScript, I have added FusionCharts.js. The theme slash FusionCharts.theme.fusion.js. This is a Fusion theme. So if you download the package, these are all the files that you will have. I'm using the CDN versions of these files so that I can directly install them in CodePen. Also, we would require Angular files, and also the most important part is the Angular Fusion chart component, which actually solves all our problems when it comes to charting. So all we need to do is add this one file, and our life in Angular is pretty much sorted. So let's directly get started on how we can create our first chart. So the first thing that we do is get our HTML so that we have a canvas ready for the chart to render. And for this, we'll quickly write some divs where we have ng app. If you have already used Angular, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with all these conventions. And ng controller, I will name that as my controller. Okay. Yes. Now let's write a div for FusionCharts, which will create the space that or the canvas that we require for rendering our chart. So let's quickly mention the width of the canvas. Let's keep it at 100% so that it's responsive. The height would be 600 pixels, and the type of chart that we will be rendering today is, let's see, this is a column 2D chart. So let's put it as column 2D. And finally, the data source from where we will be getting in the data for this chart, and that will be my data source, which we will be writing in JavaScript. All right, let's close the divs. Another one. Sorry. And yes, so we now have the HTML up and running. And now let's swiftly move into the JavaScript part. So for JavaScript, first thing that we need to do is create the app for this using in JavaScript, wherein we'll link Angular to FusionCharts. So we'll say app is equal to Angular dot module, which will connect us to the original module which we have written in the HTML code, and that was my app. And we also need to mention the controller, that's ng fusion charts. All right, so now we need to create an app controller which will help us bind the JavaScript to the data, and for that we use the my controller that we have already initialized in the HTML, and we put the function as scope. So scope is going to bind our JavaScript with HTML. So everything that happens, or all the data that is passed within JavaScript, will automatically move into HTML. And if you can see, we already have something up here which says that our chart canvas is ready. So though we don't have the data to display because we haven't added the data yet, but for data we will be putting it as scope dot my data source, which we will be shortly entering ourselves. Data source is equal to, and that's it. We have a basic app ready, and it's already rendering here in the canvas. The only thing is we have to add data now. Now here's we have the data in a tabular format in Excel, and the problem is Fusion Charts, like many other JavaScript libraries, doesn't accept data from a tabular format or from Excel format. So for this, we'll have to write the data and present it in either JSON or XML. But for this example, let's stick to JSON because XML is a little. So yes, but before that, let's slightly get the chart running. Okay, actually, let's carry on with the data. So let's prepare the data in the JSON format. For that, we'll have to write the label, which identifies individual elements of the chart. So for this, the first one is Google Play. Let's get Google Play, and also add the value that comes along with it. Here it's 3. Okay. Let's see. It. You always need to be careful with the zeros. All right. So when you keep doing this for all the remaining, that is your Apple App Store, the Windows Store, the Amazon App Store, and the BlackBerry World, your set would look something like this. All right, so now we have the data ready. Now all we need to do is get our chart attributes up and render the chart. So for that, let's first start with writing the chart function. The first thing we do is give it a title. We will call this as number of apps on leading mobile app stores. Let's also give it a subcaption, which would say as of Q1 of 2018. Now let's define the x-axis and the y-axis that we will be using for this chart. So on the x-axis, if you see here, we will have the name of the app store, and on the y-axis we'll have the number of apps in each of the app stores. So let the x-axis name be app store, and similarly the y-axis name would be number of apps. Also, let's use the theme that we got, and the theme was Fusion. Right. So ta-da, we have a chart ready, and this hardly took us any time at all. This was quick. So here is the chart that we have created, and this was how it originally looked, and this is how it looks now. Which one looks better? You be the judge. So more importantly, you can hover over this and it gives you details like the Apple App Store has 2 million, the Windows Store has 669,000 apps, and hey, BlackBerry World has 200,000 apps. Interesting. But so now let's try to make this a little. I know it's already looking amazing, but suppose if we want to play a little more with it, and that's something that I love doing, like, playing with things. So let's try to add a little more flavor to this chart and make it a little more user friendly so that people can understand it even better. So the first thing right now, if we hover over each of these columns, it shows Google Play 3.8 million. Let's try to make this a little more direct. So let's put plot to text, and now let's put the statement as the number of apps available on. So we want to say that the number of apps available on Google Play is 3.8 million. So for this, we take the label here. So we just put it as label is, and we use the value as value. All right, let's see how it turns out. There you go. The number of apps available on Google Play is 3.8 million. Interesting. And this is applicable for all. So right now, if you hover on any of these columns, it shows the entire text. And this makes it really simple to read and understand what the column is showing, even without having to use any of your brains. Now let's go a little more deeper and try to highlight each column. For this, we use the cross line tool. So let's say draw cross line and We put that as 1. All right, so now when you hover over it, there you go. Each column that you hover over gets highlighted, showing where exactly you are. This could be very important when you are highlighting a specific column, which probably is maybe a breaker in the entire, or is like an outlier. All right, now let's do something with the font. The font looks nice anyway, but let's go and still change it. So we use the base font property. Let's use the most commonly used font, which is Helvetica. And all you need to do is just write the name of the font. And there you go. Everything is changed to Helvetica if you see. And all you needed to do was just write Helvetica. All right, so now we have pretty much done all of this. Now let's do a little more cosmetic changes. But let's try changing the theme with a different. Okay, but before that, let's try to get some lines here which kind of shows a benchmark. So for that, let's go ahead and write a trend line. Let's draw a trend line right through this, which would show us when or how many app stores have, say, more than 1.5 million apps. So for that, we will write another piece of code called trend lines. And sorry, line, oopsie, let's put the start value as 1.5 million. Yes, okay, you can already see the trend line right here. It's cutting across all the columns which are more than 1.5, so you already know how many have touched 1.5 and how many are like further away from 1.5. But that's not enough. Let's put the value on the right so that it's a little more easier to read and doesn't clutter the y-axis. So yes, there you go. So now we have a trend line which hey, let's make this a little better. We'll also put the text that it displays. So display value is, let's say, 1.5 million. All right, so now it says 1.5 million instead of just 1.5 m. And the line is a little too solid for my taste, so let's try to change that too. Let's make it dashed. And 1. And there you go. Now much better, much better. All right, so that looks interesting. So now we have a chart which has a cross line which highlights each column. There is also a line which tells me where is 1.5 million and how many of the app stores have more than 1.5 million or less than 1.5 million, considering as 1.5 million being the benchmark. All right, so now let's go ahead and do something with a little more cosmetic side. Yeah, because we love to play with colors, don't we? So let's start by maybe changing the color of the column. So let's go with something, my favorite color, which is called aqua. And for that we use the palette colors attribute, and we just type in the hex code. Okay, so this is the default palette colors that FusionCharts offers you, but you can always feel free to change it. Let's use 7ACFT6. That blue was in mind. All right, so this, how does this look? Pretty interesting, right? Gives it the subtle feel that you could use when you're doing a pretty formalish presentation. All right, now let's try changing the background as well. So we go with BG color, and let's not go too dark, but like slight dark, not too black. sorry, 1D1E22. I think this should do it. Aha, you're getting the feel. Like you see the highlights, and the entire background is pretty much dark with just the text visible and the column standing out with this beautiful color. And you can even highlight it. The highlight looks much better now that the background is black, like really focusing on each and individual component of the chart. Let's try with a different color, like something a little more funky, maybe a little more bright. Let's go with let's try something in yellow, maybe. How does this look? Aha, the perfect combination. This is wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, we have pretty much created an amazing looking chart. This is how it looked earlier, or this is how most of your Excel, your numbers would create a chart for you. And this is what we did using JavaScript and using the FusionCharts charting library. And the output I feel is amazing. I don't know what you think. Do let us know what you think about this output in the comments below. But I think I am pretty satisfied with this kind of amazing looking chart, and this would look beautiful on your website, your web apps, or even your mobile apps. But and the best part about this, it took us what, like a few minutes to get this entire thing up and running from scratch, and that's, I think, is amazing. I think Excel or any of those apps would have still taken almost similar time, but it wouldn't look even one tenth as good as this. So yeah, so let's see what else Fusion Charts has. So they have so this was some of the attributes that we checked. You can go to Dev Center, the Fusion Charts Developer Center, and check out the other attributes that they have. They also have various frameworks. So if you go to individual frameworks, they can help you with each of everything, right from the installation to creating your first chart. Everything is right there, and this is, and also rendering the charts. So this is the ideal place for you to get started if you're facing any issues. Also, you can go to the chart explorer to check the other charts that Fusion Charts has, which they have distinguished based on the attributes. You can, let's go to view all charts. So many charts. This is the chart that we just created, the column 2D chart. So there are also customization options, and here you can see all the other chart attributes that you could try for and use for this chart. Currently we have used just a couple, but here there are a host of other attributes that you can use, all right here. And in fact, Fusion Charts has made it really simple to get started with charting and like create charting. The entire experience itself is very simple. So if you go to the chart gallery and you want to create a chart, they actually help you get started in under a few minutes. So all you need to do is, for example, you want to create this chart. All you need to do is just go here. They have the entire code ready. All you need to do is copy the code. Sorry. Uh, all you need to do is just copy this entire code, paste it in your browser or wherever you're developing your app, and there you go, this exact same chart in under a few seconds. That's how easy Fusion Charts has made it to create charts in JavaScript. So if you want to know more, you can head over to the website and get a demo. Check out the other things. If you like this video, do share your comments. Let us know what you really liked, and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.